Hello, welcome back. So it's finally time to start painting the guitar. The scary bit, but it's the bit that's going to transform it from a piece of wood into a Back to the Future guitar. So looking forward to it. So here we go, let's get started. Now there's one little job to do before I can actually paint it. Now I don't want to, when I spray it, what I don't want is it going in the holes and making a mess on the back, because that will show through. I don't mind if it goes in here because that'll be covered up by the pickups, but going in here, not so good. So what I'm going to do is basically take some foam and I'm going to stick it into the F-holes. So all I'm going to do is stick it through the hole like that. Quite critical to find the bit of foam that's the right size, or cut it to the right size, because too big it won't fit through the hole very well and you'll end up having a problem, maybe even breaking the hole. So squash that in there and I can move it about with some of these little forceps, which are really useful once you start digging around inside guitars. There we go. It's actually the wrong way around. Let's flip it over. So now I'm pretty much ready to spray. And what I need to do is to hang the guitar up. Now, I could hang it this way up by putting something through the holes here, but the problem with that is when I come later on to spray the top, that's not going to work because whatever's hanging it is going to be in the way. It's nice to have it this way up because it means I can hang it at eye level based on how high my roof is, and I can then get around to all of it. And what I'm doing, I've put a hook and eye, like a little hook thing that screws in where the strap is going to fit in. Okay, so that won't show. Put a cable tie around it, and then from the rafters I've got a piece of flex with a couple of bowlines tied in it, and I can use that, do up my cable tie, and that should hold it nicely at the right place. So I can then spray it, I can get to here, I can do the underneath bits there, and it's all good to go. Now the paint that I've got clearly is cherry red because that's what it needs to be. Got some spray paint from Northwest Guitars, seems to be quite good, seen some good reviews of it, so I'm going to use that. Now I'm going to spray it just out of the can. I don't have a spray gun. If I do any more of these, I'll probably go and buy a spray gun because you'll get obviously better results from a spray gun. Other thing I need is a mask which will do organic vapours. Eye protection as well, I'll just wear anyway just in case. And then I can spray it. Now it's probably wise to put polythene and things up around, but I don't really mind that much if I'm getting paint on other things. I'll give it a good clean afterwards. And from a spray can, I'm not sure it's going to go too far, but we'll find out. And the other thing I've done is I've spent absolutely ages hoovering. I've hoovered up all the floor and all the benches around, so I've got as little dust as possible. I'm looking up at the light and I'm not seeing any dust in the air, because as soon as I start spraying, I guarantee all the dust in the world's going to come and land in it. So I try to make it as dust free as I can, and then we'll go from there. Now I've positioned the phone with the camera in it quite far away, because what I don't want to do is get my phone all covered in paint. And now it's about 2 minutes shaking. So now I'm not going for a base coat, a primer if you like, because what these guitars have is they're sort of translucent. You can kind of see the grain through the paint, certainly at that time. So just going straight for the colour rather than the primer. And I've given everything a last check over, just checks that there's no dust just when you touch it. Make sure all the tape is in place. I don't want to make any mistakes now. And what I'm going to do when I finish shaking this in about an hour's time, I'm going to spray a bit just on a blank piece, on a piece of wood, or on the bottom of my things over there, just to check that it's flowing right, it's not sputtering and making a mess before I actually set out to do it on the real guitar. And then when I've finished, what I'll do is invert the can and spray it, because the thing drinks from the bottom, and so you can kind of spray a bit of air through it, it'll clear the nozzle, for the next time. Generally a good thing to do with spray paint. So here we are, decent mask. This is A1 P3. So the A1 means organic vapours, P3 is dust. So I want both of those. A2 is even better. I haven't got one of those. So there's the mask. Where's my glasses? Clear glasses. Let's go for it. Well, I didn't get all of the coats on film. I put about 5 or 6 on at the end, but I'm really disappointed with the outcome. As you can still see that painted stripe down the middle. I thought was going to hide the thing. Actually, the painted stripe showing up, and it's just not. It just doesn't look any good. The sides are absolutely terrible. You can see this is where I regret using the maple on its side grain, because all the side grain is just. I thought I'd got it smooth, but clearly I haven't. I've taken one of the strips off, one of the strips of tape off, but overall it's just awful. It just hasn't worked at all. It's like I've gloss painted some wood, which is what I have done, but I kind of thought that it would at least be shiny all over, but it's just not consistent. There's bits where it looks matte, bits where it doesn't. So what I'm going to have to do is let it set properly, and I'm going to have to rub it down, try again. Really disappointing. Well, I've had 24 hours to think about it, and this has had 24 hours to dry, and I've decided I'm really going to have to sand it down again. It just isn't a good finish at all. Obviously rubbing it down, polishing it up, you could get a lot of it looking better, but I'm seeing things through it. I'm seeing scratches that I didn't even know were there, that I couldn't see when it wasn't painted. So I have to sand it all down, and at least now that it is painted I'll be able to see the scratches. Around the edges is where it's really gone badly. I mean, you can see here it's like the paint hasn't even stuck. It's weird. It just hasn't worked at all. So what I'm going to have to do, and in fact, because I used end-on grain, that's made the situation a lot worse, I think. I only really did it because I had a load of it, because I bought, if you remember, the stuff I bought was skateboard stuff, and so there was some cross grain. I thought, well, I might as well use that, but that was a mistake. So what I'm going to have to do here is I have to sand it down, and then I think I'm going to have to put some polyfiller in all around to fit, just some very fine stuff to fill the grain, and then sand it down again, and then in fact the whole thing, there's a little touches of filler, there's the odd dent that I hadn't noticed, so I'll fill all those, sand the whole thing down, get it down to sort of really smooth, flat, take a long time over it, and then I will apply some primer, which I will then probably rub down just a little bit, and then I'm going to use white primer, and that should make the red pop a little bit, and then I'll redo it and we'll see if that's any better. Disappointing, but you got to take the rough with the smooth. So I've taken that down till it looks smooth again. I'm taking some fine first surface polyfiller. I'm sure other brands are available. And then really for this, I'm just going to run it down the whole thing. And what that will do, it will find all those lumps and bumps. So now that it's dried, I'm going to take it down initially very gently with some 120 and then with some 250. So here we are. This is after sanding with a 120 and 215. You can see all those bits here where it went all funny with the painting, where there's grain showing through. That has now been filled by that filler, and it does feel pretty smooth. So they can still see some scratches in from the 250. So I'm going to go over it with some 400 next, and then that be that bit done. I'll double check it again, and when I spray paint it, what I'll do is I'll put a layer of paint on the whole thing, and then I'll check it again for smoothness, and I may need to rub it down again and put some extra in. But hopefully that will be that. And the front and the back is the same deal really. So what I've got it set up so the light's coming across it, and that really sort of accentuates any of the little dents and scratches. And there are quite a few little dents and scratches that I can see. You can see I've already started with a bit of 120, just taking out some of the obvious things. Because when you paint it, obviously, you can suddenly see all the dents and marks. So I'm just going to go around, and all of the sort of ones that look quite bad, I'll take some 122. And then once I've taken out the obvious scratches, I'll just do the whole thing with some 250, 240, 250, and that'll just get the whole thing nice and smooth with all the sort of dents and scratches removed. I don't think I need to put any filler in this one for the moment. Here we are, the guitar is now very much smoother. All these edge bits are all filled and sanded. So we're all ready for the second coat. Hang it up again. So this time I'll put the camera further away again so I don't paint it, and then it's going to be white primer. Here we are, that's had about 4 or 5 coats of primer, and you can see it still hasn't covered up all the markers. It just shows you just how much paint you need to cover over distinct markers. You can still see that stripe down the front there. So hopefully when I redo that in a darker colour, that will disappear. But that finish is much better. So I can see this is now, it looks slightly shiny. Well, that is much better than it was. That looks smooth. I'm happy now with what that is looking like. So I'll leave it to dry for a while. And again, there's the odd little bit that'll need a tiny bit of filler in. And you can see, especially on camera, it shows up on camera more than it does in reality actually, that the patches underneath really showing through, even though this is primer and even though I used a whole tin of it. But yeah, looking good. Much happier with that. Now, as I said before, I've not spray painted a guitar before, so this is something new for me. And looking at the bench, you can see that I had some rolls of tape on here and that the paint has gone down by the side of it. Well, that's fine. I don't mind things getting painted a little bit in the garage, so obviously I'll cover it up next time. However, this isn't painted. If we look, it's actually a dust. It's a dust of the paint. So what's happened is the paint has dried as it's flown through the air, and it's slowly drifted down onto here and formed this horrible dust that's all over everything. So what I'm going to have to do now, because I don't want to be breathing this in for the next 3 months, so what I'm going to have to do is to go over with me Hoover, and I've got a Hoover down here, which it's a V-Tough one. It's actually got HEPA filters in it, so it's actually a dust extractor in reality. Really good. Definitely recommend. So I'm going to have to go over with that, and I'm going to have to hoover all this dust off. It's my own fault really. Everything is now covered in it, including the hoover. Okay, so that's what I'm going to need to do. So next time round, I'm going to use some plastic sheeting to stop that happening. So what I'm doing now, I've got the thing which is painted with its primer, and I'm just going over it with some 400 sandpaper and just taking it down, just taking off of that rough surface, and then any lumps and bumps I can just take those out. And if I discover any sort of proper lumps and bumps that have been caused, that have been shown up, if you like, by the primer colour, I can just fill those slightly. And the beauty is I can fill them with a white filler and it won't show up against this, so when I paint it, hopefully I won't get patches left. I mean, it's still showing through here, but hopefully it's not showing through enough that when I spray it red again, these will show up. But we'll see. The other thing I'm doing is where the primer has made a line, so I've taken the masking tape off and there's obviously a bump there, so I'm just making sure to take that down a little bit, because eventually I will really want that to be smooth against the binding. So just taking that edge off so that when I spray it with red I can take that down a little bit and hopefully it'll be fairly smooth. If I didn't do that, sprayed it with red, in order to get it smooth I would then have to sand all the way through the red into the white and I'd get marks. So bit dull, carry on, go around all the way around here with some 400 and get it nice and smooth and ready for its next coat of red. So there we are, we're now at a point where we've got a coat of paint on it that I'm reasonably happy with. It's reasonably smooth and looks good. Next step is to start putting the red back on again. So a few coats of red, and then it's going to be scraping back so that we can see the binding detail. There's a lot of work in that, so I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to do it next time. This one's already gone on a bit. So thanks for watching. If you liked it, please press like. If you want to see more, then hit subscribe, and maybe I'll see you next time.